We have to go to the ribbon ceremony at the high school for the junior
Okay, thank you.
ROTC. You wanna come? We're gonna leave 5:10. Starts at 5:30.
Calling the order of the meeting of the committee to review the purpose and composition, functionality, and effectiveness of the standing committee of the town. This is February 26, 2025. We'll do a roll call first.
Certainly. Councilors Burdick, Clark.
Here.
Crow.
Here.
Lutke.
Here.
Turkelson.
Here.
You have quorum.
Do I read the recording thing? Would you like me to read that?
Please.
This meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast in the town of Barnstable's Government Assets channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. Seeing none. Okay, this meeting will be played via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Assets Channel live video on demand archives on the Town of Barnstable website. Okay. First, public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to review of non-active committees. So everybody has that file.
Where is it?
It's in your handout for today.
First thing right after that.
Okay, we might as well start, I guess, with the library committee, is that correct?
And just a point of clarification, Mr. Chair, the email that's with the library committee is the email that I received in 2019 from Director Poyant, and the response from, at the time, the town council president, Jessica Rapp-Grassetti, was that we had to check with legal to make sure that the committee could actually be dissolved according to the way it was designed.
Okay. Thank you. That means all committees, I assume? All the committees? Just the
No,
library?
just this one because it has, there's a funding source associated with it.
Yeah.
And before we dissolve it, we may want to make sure that the directors don't need the town's assistance anymore. They used to meet with the town manager regarding funding and things like that, but if they're private now, which I don't know why they didn't want to do this anymore.
They still get funding from the town.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a couple of months, I had a long discussion with the Marston's Mills.
Yeah, it was
librarian.
when Ruth was just getting ready to retire, so she may not have addressed it.
Well, they still get money every year from the town,
That's one
There's
you
a
might
certain
want to look
amount,
into, Allison.
and they discuss amongst themselves who gets the money.
There's a formula, apparently.
So they're doing it, whether they're doing it under the auspices of this committee, it's being done.
Right. And if you read on the town library committee where I put the chapter 241, I also included that email from May 6, 2019, so everybody can read it as to why they were looking to dissolve the. But at the time, the town council president did not feel comfortable taking the action on her own without legal advice.
So we will wait for legal advice as well?
I just gave it to Allison to
Yeah.
check, yeah. Because this is all information I just found out in the last couple of days after I told the committee I would speak to Lynn.
Yeah.
And that's,
The only thing I understand is that, well, I know from my library, they think the formula is not exactly even with the libraries.
yeah, it had
There's a
some,
difference between some and others, and whether those, the libraries that the most circulation or the most traffic should get more versus
Right.
others. I don't know the answer to that,
yeah,
and I haven't looked into that. So maybe we should maybe ask that group of librarians to come together and figure that out before, and let them know we're thinking about
Mhm.
about shutting this down. So maybe
Yeah.
we can contact
sure.
the librarians and ask them to meet and decide on a formula, or is that something they can decide?
They do it, I mean, as I say, I had this meeting at the Marston's Mills, and they are very comfortable, they're constantly talking to one another. It's not like they're out there and they're fighting and bickering. They seem to have a very good sense of who gets what, and if somebody needed a little more, it just seems like it's whatever's going on right now is working, but that's just one librarian
Okay.
that I
I
spoke
can
to.
volunteer to talk to a couple other librarians.
Do you have the list of the librarians? Maybe you can send them a message,
Sure.
or the directors, and ask them. I think they should meet maybe once more and discuss the formula for financing. And once there's an agreement on that, then there's no longer need for this committee, I assume.
I don't
Do you-
Well,
do you see-
unless for some reason having the committee is how the money is somehow
Yeah.
entered through the administrative code,
Right.
you know, which I guess Allison will.
Yeah,
let us know.
Allison will look into it. She said she would.
Okay, we'll just wait to hear back from them and then go from there.
That's why I put that one first.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I can speak to the librarian at Smithers and
I can
Weldon.
do the same thing. The Water Quality Committee. Can you tell us anything about the water quality maybe last time it met?
Water quality has not met since 2018. And it currently has, it has one member on there, but his term expired in '21, and he was not sent a letter for reappointment because we were at the junction that we're at now, so.
Was that Tom Temporary?
No, it was, William Garuffi. Yeah, and he's the only one on it.
And really, is this just superseded now with our CWMP in the fact that the water departments themselves are managing? I mean, it sounds like they're, you know, protecting the quality of the water within our town, and I think our water departments are probably.
But this is ground and surface and coastal water.
That's what I'm
so
saying,
it's
there's a
broader.
lot of waters here.
There was the RAC, the Water Resources Advisory Committee. That was an ad hoc committee that was sunsetted. They were very active and robust. Did you take the minutes for them?
Yeah, we also have a waterways committee. If you look in your packet back when I gave you all the descriptions, there's also a waterways that's very active, so I don't know if their charge has
They
anything.
charged like with
Moorings
waste
and,
navigation and
Yeah.
navigation channels and moorings, piers.
I don't know, I think, there's a lot of value in this with what's going on with our water quality. This is one of these areas, reminds me of kind of human services, and that there's a lot of entities doing a lot with water quality. You know, Association to Preserve Cape Cod, the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition, you know, Indian Ponds is out there advocating, lobbying, because this isn't just drinking water. And, you know, if it stopped meeting in 2018, you know, the PFAS thing was from 2006 to 16, so maybe that was a part of it too. I mean, it would be a huge amount of interest in this. So, I don't know, I think it might have a lot of value with what's going on with our water right now. You mentioned the CWMP. I mean, that's a piece of it, but that's certainly a very specialized aspect. It might be worth a look, and maybe talking to, again, some of these entities that are out there, like
agree.
Clean Water Coalition, Associated to Preserve Cape Cod, to see what value this might add to them. I would think we'd talk to them, reach out. What do you guys think? I think this is, again, I go back to the LCP meeting last night when we did the data collection. Water quality was the number one thing, number one, you know, of our ponds and everything else, because it sounds like that's more the focus than drinking water. I mean, if this was drinking water, I'd say, gosh, get rid of this immediately, because we have our water board and we've done the filtration. I mean, all of this is,
Well, it says it interacts with town council to advise the council on policies and legislative matters concerning water quality and quantity within the town. So,
I think that's
Drinking water.
a big issue now, depending on how much
Quantity.
we're building up.
yes.
And what supplies we have for all the new building we're doing. And we need, I think we need advice at some point from maybe a committee like this that would say, hey, you know, I've talked to all the water commissions or water departments, and, you know, at what point are we putting that in danger, depending on how much building we're doing?
I think, yeah, that's a great point, Kristen, and John, that this could be that overarching
Sorry to interrupt.
entity that reaches out, you know,
Yeah.
with the way we're split up with our fire districts and water districts, it's hard to get a handle on it.
The question is between, we have the CWMP, we have all these various, I mean, look, it says, you know, other boards that it's interrelated with. We have zoning, planning, conservation, Board of Health, Old Kings Highway, historic, economic, waterways, public works. So we have all those. Then we have all the side groups. We have Association of Preserve Cape Cod. Like, we now have like 20 people we're trying to like collate information. And I guess it's at some point, it's like, this hasn't happened since 2018. I guess the question is, we're in 2025. What has happened to our water quality since then to now that would warrant bringing something back? Like, are we just adding another layer of administrative effort that isn't necessary, that's being managed, that something filled in the gap since 2018?
Well,
You know
also,
what
it
I'm
was right
saying?
before, it had been wasting away somewhat, but then came COVID and it killed it.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just wondering, we have to be realistic, like, we have X amount of committees already.
Mhm.
We have, like, if we're gonna keep adding committees, then we gotta find people to put on the committees, then we gotta find a place for the committees to meet. I'm not saying we shouldn't do business because of those reasons only, but it's like, what has filled the gap since 2018? What has been to the detriment? Is our water quality getting worse? Do we have
Yes.
people? Well, I
Yes.
mean, I don't know, because we have people that are studying our water, that are like summer monitoring, or like, I mean, I'm not like a water expert, so I can't say, but.
Is the CWMP encumbering any of this?
Well, I mean, I would think for quantity within the town, that the CWMP, well,
Not really, it's about wastewater
Yeah.
The
only
wastewater, yeah.
for the most part. But I'm thinking this could use some, I think it could provide a valued service to the town. But it's also constructed in a stale way. I don't see how many members were, seven members,
Seven.
I'm sorry. But we don't even have an Economic Development Commission anymore, so I'm
It
saying,
would have to be
Public Works either.
reworked.
Right.
Can we wrap this into another committee or give these responsibilities to another existing committee?
Well, the question is who's been doing the work in the last
Yeah,
7 years? That's my question.
Yeah.
Because if other groups are doing it, then maybe we don't need to take it away from them or make it more complicated for them to do their job.
I think we need to
Or-
unite them. I think the people are invested in their own ponds, like Indian Ponds
Yes.
only cares about Indian Pond. Lake Waquaket people have their, those are surface waters, fresh water, but Shellfish Committee kind of deals with some of the water quality in the shellfishing areas.
I think it would help too when you talk about the quantity piece with this constant search for a new well. It would take a little bit of heat off what I guess is now called the Barnstable Water Department. You know, it would, Barnstable Municipal Water Department, it would give, I could see this operating in a similar way that CFAC does, where they kind of look at reports and put them together in an organized way. I could see this adding value. But, I think we need more information.
Do you want?
And Amber, Ulrich, she's doing a piece of this.
Well,
She does a lot of monitoring.
That's my question is like, is somebody already doing this? And then you're asking citizens to engage.
Well, Amber
If it's
might
already
be, or
being done.
talk to Dan Santos.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the place to start, is talk to Dan and Amber
I think that's a good idea.
and see.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
because we had a problem at, well, thought maybe a problem at Joshua's Pond. Turned out to be not, but Amber did all the water quality studies, went out there with people and kayaks and did all that stuff. And so, as far as water quality is concerned, she knows what she's doing, so maybe we can give this responsibilities to her. And but the
Or
other,
it's already being done by.
or we also could do the fact that the interactions with the various water departments about supply availability and that kind of thing, and wrap it into maybe some of the things that she would do as a liaison between all the committee. What do you think
Do you
about
want me
that?
to meet with Dan Santos and see, get some feedback from him on what he and Amber are doing?
Okay.
Would make sense? And see if they,
See if they would be able to take these over?
What-
Take this,
if this is already, if this would be redundant,
that's all.
because at that time, prior to 2018, I'm not even sure Amber was
It
hired.
existed.
No,
you
she
know.
wasn't, yeah.
So I think that the engineering or DPW has grown with the engagement of the CWMP, public engagement, education, stuff like that. So maybe it doesn't have a place if they feel that the staff has absorbed the connection with the community. Or maybe they might
I
see
agree
that.
with that. I think that would be the best way to go about it. Because the only thing I see here other than water quality are water supply. And so, like I said, if he thought that be something in his auspices that could do it, then we could do away with this committee.
And I mean,
Listen, yeah.
it says here, assists in the preparation of ordinances and regulations concerning water quality within the town. I mean, I'm imagining part of that, I mean, it sounds like we're always looking at the regulations of our water quality based on state regulations and how to, you know, we had the whole thing about runoff at building sites and how they had to maintain that and manage that. I mean, I don't know if that came from residents, but I had a feeling it came from somebody bigger than that. So, you know, it's not that I mean, I think there might be some parts of this that might be useful, but I just think some parts of it have probably been absorbed other places, in which case maybe if we decided to keep it, we need to make it a useful committee that's not redundant to what we're already doing.
I think talking to Dan would be the best to start,
Okay.
because he might be able to say, this is what you're being taken care of. And we just make sure that they keep an eye on supply, and of course, that also includes talking to other towns nearby. So,
You know, one aspect of this, because other towns have done it, we haven't done much with it. And there was a beautiful op-ed in the paper the other day written about the gentleman who talked about the lobster eggs. Did anyone else read that? He was talking about the lobstering, and they were gonna increase the size of the lobsters that, you know, you have to throw back. And he said, you know, that's not the problem, it's the lobster eggs. And he traced it back, you know, to the nitrogen. And, you know, some municipalities have limited, you know, fertilizers and pesticides and things like that. And I kind of see, you know, that might be, because I think what Amber, they monitor. There's a difference between monitoring and then kind of advocating for things. So,
Yeah, I get that piece, but I mean, I don't know. Serves as a source of information to water suppliers.
well, it says they assist in the preparation of ordinances and regulations.
I was just looking in the E-code and I couldn't find, or I can't find when this committee was born. What was the legislation or the ordinance that established it? I'm trying to figure out where the,
For the water quality?
yes. For the
Oh, I can get that for you, hold on.
The Barnstable Municipal Water Supply Board has all the references to the orders.
I mean, I will say, there were a lot of beach closures this summer.
It's a lot.
And I know, you know, I have people from Lake Woquacket reach out to me about, you know, the issue with the water, the cyanobacteria. I know that's a big concern for lakes and ponds. I mean, I think the only other thing that I see as an issue with water quality in my precinct, and it's not all about my precinct, obviously, but is how we communicate that information. It was not well communicated. Like, I think there, you know, supposedly APCC tells you what's going on, but it was like kind of,
2008.
it was kind of slow to come out, and it was slow to be updated. So I don't know if the town would want to take a more active role in letting people know, because it is our water. And ultimately, we're probably responsible, and APCC probably isn't responsible, you know, so.
I do recall, probably 2 decades ago, there was a movement to sewer Lake Wequacket. It was like, oh no, that's too expensive. Had we only done that,
Right.
it would have been less expensive and less problematic now. But,
Yeah, here's their
thank you.
original mission statement.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, Tom Kimber was on it.
Established in the early 1980s.
1980s.
Yep.
Mhm.
And here we are.
In mapping the recharge areas at sound supply wells. Yet once over the last year. Oh, that's not good.
So it did?
This is their annual report. Thank you very much, Cindy.
Annual report for what year?
This is it 2008?
Oh.
No, 2009.
Yeah, this is all of their,
Oh.
of the prior members.
Well, again, this was just the emergence of the whole PFAS situation.
Right.
So the original mission statement reads, to provide a forum for the 5 separate water purveyors of the town to meet with town officials and discuss issues pertaining to the protection of water supply for the town of Barnstable.
So that's
That
different
was
from,
very narrow.
yeah, this is different from what we're reading here that includes surface and coastal water.
Right.
It was probably expanded, which a lot of times within the code, it'll tell you that it was expanded to cover certain, or the charge was changed, or.
Well, who's the one guy who's still,
Bill Goretti, I know.
you know them?
I know of him.
Yeah. There's one, but he doesn't contact anybody, and I don't believe anybody contacts him. And he wasn't reappointed because we're at the junction that we're at now.
All right, well, I'll meet with,
You meet Dan and give us an idea for the next meeting, and if these are something that you take under his umbrella, that would.
Or just maybe it needs a reworking,
Yeah.
right. Well, we definitely,
you know, like,
there's no Economic Development Commission to answer to at this point.
Yeah.
Waterways, thank you. Waterways has their own jurisdiction.
And they're very active.
Yes, they are. Okay.
Okay, moving on to the roads committee. Well, this also seems like something market. The roads committee shall make recommendations on all roads being considered for layout and acceptance within the town.
I think we've already done this.
I think we've
huh?
already been done that, and Mark has been working on that,
Yeah.
so I think he's taken up those, I think we can, unless you find anything, we can shut the door on this one.
Well, I'll wait for Cindy, but my recollection is that the roads committee was resurrected under, Cindy, I'm sorry to lean on you again. But this, Councilor Crowe was just reading about the roads committee.
Yep.
And what you copied for us, and I thank you for that. This consists of 6 people. Interestingly, it's not an odd number, but the town manager, 1 member from Public Works Commission, which is no longer, 1 member from the Historical Commission, and 1 member of the Planning Board, and 2 voters of the town. So, from what I recall, there was a roads committee that was just made of counselors. I believe,
Right here.
Counselor,
Um,
former Counselor Wallace.
Counselor Crocker was, Will Crocker was chair, John Flores was on it, Jim Crocker was on it, Counselor Cushing was on it, Counselor Wallace was on it.
So they're all
And
counselors, so it
Yeah.
changed, that's almost an ad hoc committee
Yeah.
that's different from this committee.
this was, yeah, I've got everything back from, if you guys ever need to see it, but this was the roads committee, that was in 2014.
and it sounds like with the potential that we keep going on about roads, private roads and public roads and all that, that hopefully the council will be bringing forward its view of how we will manage our road census. And again, it could change with an election.
Yeah.
But maybe this committee is not important in that way, that the council is making decisions, broad-based decisions
Well,
through
the
philosophy.
members of that committee is a different
Different,
constitution from what was here.
John, would you like some input on the roads committee? Because I talked to Mark Ells about it a lot. Would that be beneficial to you?
Okay, if you can add to this, go
Huh?
ahead. If you can add to this conversation, go ahead.
Am I close enough to be heard?
We can hear you.
Okay, back during one of the town council meetings, he made a presentation about the roads and the things he was gonna do. And I talked to him afterwards, and I asked him, what happened to the roads committee? And he just said, I don't know, nobody just showed up. Well, he knew more than that, because then I went to his office and talked to him more about it. And I said, if you want, I'll resurrect that committee for you. I'll bring it back and he said his concern was that he wasn't gonna be able to get support from the community. And I said, door to door, that's how you get it. So in any event, the committee, I had it drafted out as to how to bring it back. And then it just died about 8 months ago. So, but it has a value, like Betty just said about these values are lurking. What do you do with it? I don't think you've got the people behind it, but the concept is there. And should it be brought back to life? I don't know, or should it be done somewhere else? That's an issue for you to consider. But that's the background that I had with him. And I hope that that's helpful.
What was the reason for going door to door? It's for roads that
Get
Or
support,
the
get
private
support
roads
from
that-
get support from the members in the different communities. In other words, you form a committee and you get people in that committee that are tied to specific areas of the town. It doesn't have to be, universal. For instance, in West Barnstable, that might not be as important as it might be in Centerville, where the roads may be more significant. So the idea that I explained to him was that if you get the right people and you train them and familiarize them with them, then if they go door to door, then they're winning it over, so to speak, or they're finding that the people don't care, whatever they're gonna do. But getting support from the people, the neighbors, would mean when you have hearings on road issues, you're gonna have some universal support or opposition, more likely support. So that was the theory behind it.
What I've listened to Mark about the roads and road takings for private versus public. He had that presentation, and they had a number of 5 or 10 that they took, mainly because of the traffic count and how they're basically used. They're very high traveled roads, so they use more. So those are the ones he decided that we're going to take and bring up to
Connector
grade.
roads.
Yeah, connected roads, and then we have the program where neighborhoods can get together and decide for themselves to upgrade those roads to a certain standard before they ask the town to take them over. Is that correct? That's what we've been
Betterment.
doing. Betterments. So I think that's all encompassed by what Mark already does here and what we've already discussed. It really has to do with a lot of private roads, and people are gonna wanna say, we want the town to start maintaining these roads. And there's already a process for doing that. So I don't know if is there a need for people to go to people's, I think it's sort of like those neighborhoods will come to us when they're ready versus us going door to door or some
I think they
member
go
of
to
this
the
committee.
DPW now.
Yeah.
If a street is in tough shape
Yeah.
and they can get over 51% of the.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all right here in this
yeah, it's all right there.
program. We have a program that outlines everything that the neighborhood has to do, what the neighbors have to do, and then what happens after.
And I got the sense from Town Manager Ells that for all the years that this was in service, they kind of went around and around about private roads and public roads and private roads and public roads, and they just kept kind of like recycling the argument, and they never got anywhere, which is why we've now, in my time, I've watched 5 presentations on private and public roads. Some before my time and some since. But it's like, again, even as a council, we've been kind of kicking it around, so it's kind of like we need to get, we're working on getting to a place where we have a philosophy and a policy along with what we already have as programs. So, I mean, I don't necessarily see the roads committee as contributing to that, because I think in the end, the council has to have a plan, have some policies, and have the money to do it, you know?
I don't see any value added in this committee.
Does somebody wanna speak with, the town manager, and I'll talk to DPW about.
Our town manager, I just talked to him about it
That's
today.
right.
Just today.
So, I mean, this roads committee is a different committee from the ad hoc
Right,
only counselors committee.
yes.
Yeah.
So they're different, and as you said, the town manager has presented to us these conditions for consideration. Are they connector roads? Are they newly paved roads that we wanna take on while they're new? And then adopt them as town roads or public roads that the town finances on. So perhaps just get his reply on whether he thinks a committee has value or not. And this one that was adopted in 1993, or added in 1993, would definitely have to be reworked if it was even considered. But the ad hoc committee was for a specific amount of time, populated by counselors, and they evaluated.
And that ad hoc got sunset, that had a specific amount of time, so
She would know.
I'm sorry?
The ad hoc roads committee that had a specific charge and a specific amount of time, that was properly
Sunsetted, yes.
sunsetted, okay.
Yep. Vice President Kennedy on it, and the reason why it was basically formed in the beginning is because in Vice President Clark's precinct, there is a lot of ancient roads that nobody knew how to maintain them, what do we do with them? And then a lot of people that move here don't understand they live on private roads.
Yeah.
Which the majority do, so when they don't see a snowplow come down the road, there was a lot of complaints generated, potholes. In fact, the neighbors on Patriots Way are one of the people that wanted this resurrected and brought into, because their roads you can't even navigate down. And we did a big thing where Dan said, we can't spend money on private roads. It's just, you can't.
Yeah.
And they said, well, and then it started the whole, well, we pay taxes, where do our taxes go if they're not going to our roads? And Dan had to do the whole, so that's how this roads committee got, do they want to take certain roads? What do we do with the ancient ways? And basically what this committee did was tightened up that betterment policy
Okay,
to
great.
make it better for neighborhoods to be able to adopt
Okay.
road takings if they chose.
And it makes
so to
sense
choose.
that primary beneficiaries are carrying the financial burden.
Yes. We already have a mechanism for doing it. If this committee actually put that out, then, that's probably all it's needed, so it's gonna get a last thing. Okay, the Jane Eshbaugh Service Committee. Service Community, it says. Community Service Award.
Yeah, this one was established in 2001 by the town council, and it was given, an award is given annually in person to somebody who goes above and beyond to protect the land, the health, the human services, and there's a description there. But the last service award that I had was 2009, so I don't know if anybody's still doing it, but I gave you the description there in the back of how and who she was.
I knew Jean Eshbaugh, she was a town councilor, she was also a member of the Barnstable Land Trust Board of Trustees, and very good contributor, a volunteer in our community. And I believe it was council president at the time, Jackie Barton, who established this committee. And she at that time was executive director of the Barnstable Land Trust. And so I have a great deal of respect for Jane, but I feel that it's not worth carrying a committee that hasn't met in a while and select one volunteer of the year. I think there's a watershed of people who do volunteer work for our town. And I think that it's I think it was an emotional, response when, Mrs. Eshba died. And I think that, that if we could retire this, she won't be forgotten, but I think that it's not worth holding a place for a committee that has lost its vibe. So I would recommend that we formally retire this committee.
Can you tell me, Cynthia, how many, does it say how many, who serves on this committee, or does it? Who serves? 5 members who are serve at large, okay.
Yeah, I can get that for you,
No, I
yeah.
got it right here.
Five
There shall be a
members.
James Eshbaugh Service Award Committee consisting of 5 members who shall serve at large,
And the
so I assume they're
appointments
all.
committee puts those people on.
Yeah,
I
okay.
only know that because it kind of came up in our appointments
Yeah,
committee.
okay.
So.
What
So
are
would
your
you like
thoughts?
to make a motion?
Yeah, I move, oh wait, Tricia,
Yeah.
Tricia, move it down. But,
Yeah, I think it's sad that we set something up in someone's name and then it just fall by the wayside.
well, I do
But
think that.
I didn't know her, so you seem to have more.
Yeah, and I learned from that, to be cautious about, a quick reaction,
Right.
emotional reaction when somebody passes away. You just wanna do something to recognize somebody, and now that some time has passed since
Well, I
she
think you
passed
have a
away.
valid point too. We have a lot of amazing people in this town. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when we have, when the veterans come and we speak about their service, or we lose somebody in our community and we speak about them before the meeting starts, it's like, wow.
There's a
right?
woman
We have some
who-
amazing people.
Who runs our Meals on Wheels, a daily grind.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think, we do, it's not like we're not acknowledging, but it's also like, we need to be more acknowledging all the time at many places rather than just one place, I think.
Yeah, it was put together, Jackie Barton was on it,
2002?
Martin Flynn, Sue Connolly, Betty Nilsson,
And
Deborah Fitton,
most of them dead and moved away.
Bill O'Neill, yeah. Jackie Barton. And Hank Farnham.
So, we're waiting for you to be back.
Haven't awarded anybody anything since 2008 was the last one.
So I'll move that we officially retire the Jane Eshbaugh Service Award Committee.
Which committee?
Second.
What's the name of that one?
All right.
Jane
Any
Ashbaugh.
more,
do we need some legal thought on that? I mean, is anything legal? Can we just vote here and then it's gone?
Yeah, no, I think we'd have
It
to.
requires council
Yeah, we'd
action.
have to get to council. It would just, your vote would be to
Recommend.
recommend to the council that.
Because there's 2 things here. The motion was for the committee, but there's the actual award itself. Wouldn't both have to be?
Sure, yeah,
That's true.
because the committee is
Change
just
the
there
motions
to,
then, or?
That we
I,
retire the committee.
now that you're saying it's 2 different
Well,
things,
it's the Service Award Committee. So we would be making a motion to retire the Jane
It's right here,
Ashbaugh
Al.
Community, so you can see it legally.
In 2009 when it was discovered, yeah.
It's from the committee.
Yeah.
The committee gets together and they recommend somebody and then they give out the award.
Yeah,
But they haven't actually given out an award since 2000.
it's just like the Mercy Otis.
No, I know that, but.
People
the
send in
award would retire with the
recommendations.
I think it's
It
an
says
award,
here.
no, that's not, that's a typo. Community Service
Award,
Award, that's the
right.
award, but this
But
is
that
the
was
committee.
established, it says in January 2001, and the committee was added in 2002. I mean, the award is still out there, whether we axe the committee or not, right? I don't know, I'm asking Allison.
Maybe they started the award in 2001, they started the committee, and then they started giving the award out. They may have given it to Jane Ashbaugh that year, 2001, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And then they established the committee, the award committee. And then annually, they're supposed to be giving an award, which they haven't done since 2008.
I think that if you were to retire the committee, there would be no one to make the award.
Right.
However, if it would make you feel more comfortable to, I just don't know if that would be the job of this committee. I don't know
That's what I
where
don't
that would
know.
live, but I do know that retiring the committee is within, the
So the
purview.
award is still
That's
there.
step number 1.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess we'd have to look a little bit more into the history as to how it was created. I don't know if it was created by the town council at the time.
Council President Jackie Barton.
Okay, so we'd have to look into how it was presented and voted on in the council and just how those decisions were made. But I think it's safe to say that you can vote to retire the committee itself today. And then we can look into whether or not we need to take any steps to disband the award itself.
okay.
I got one more thing about this. It says, in recognition of service to others in the areas of environmental protection, land conservation, health and human service, innovative community initiatives, beautification, other appropriate areas of community endeavor. I don't know, well, I'm sure she was probably, these were areas of interest she really was cared about. If we're gonna do a community service award, it should be somebody who's, whatever area they're dealing with involves a number of areas in town, but I'm saying, instead of, it could be somebody who does something that doesn't include these things.
I understand.
So I'm trying to say, it's like,
But then
if we
you'd
would,
have to start a whole new
we'd have to start
service award.
yeah, but it'd be under her, but we could change, we could
No, I
change
don't
the,
think you can.
I think you would be
That would be
taking
the only
away
thing.
the essence
Yeah.
of the Jane Eschbach Community Service Award.
okay, fair enough.
I mean, I also think we could leave the award, I mean, the community gives out the award, so obviously if we retire the service award committee, there will be no future necessarily planned, in theory, every year giving. But on the same hand, if you leave the service award as part of our history, I mean, maybe there'll be somebody that comes up that we really wanna give a Jane Eschbach Community Service Award to, and we just do that as a council. Maybe somebody brings that forward, and one year there's somebody that really calls to the council that they wanna do that. I mean, I don't know that we necessarily have to get rid of the award, but I think we haven't been doing it since 2008.
And if I may, Chair, to speak to your point, if you were to retire the committee and the award was still there, it may broaden the opportunity to make that reward because this is no longer in our code. That's one thought. And then another thought is it's not like it's a monetary reward. It's not like there's anybody funding it.
Yeah.
So if it sat there, it wasn't, there was nothing, there's no harm, exactly.
Okay.
I think, Barry, that's the way to do it. It's just keep it with the committee, but at some point, there will be somebody whose services that everybody agrees is to such an extent that the council decides they wanna give some award. This could be the award they can give. Instead of having, every year we're giving it to
Well,
somebody.
it does say the award is given annually.
Yeah, it does. But I don't know if we
Again,
have somebody
I think if you get
every
rid
year
of
for
the
that.
committee, the award goes away, and so.
Okay.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would agree keeping the award, but no committee unless it's brought back to life by some person well-deserving of something from the town. And that can be done on an ad hoc basis, you think? Chris?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
Look
so
at
we have a
that.
motion and a second
Second.
to remove this committee. All in
To
favor?
recommend
Recommend,
that the council retire
yeah,
The Jane Eschbach
Jane
Community
Eschbach
Service
Service
Award.
Award Committee,
or retire the committee, not the
committee,
board.
right.
Okay, so, let me do that again. The
I
motion
move
is,
to recommend that the town council retire the Jane Eschbach Community Service Award Committee.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Yes. Okay, great. Cable TV advisory. Listening code. Is anybody watching cable anymore? Does Comcast not run away everybody?
Unfortunately, I still have Comcast.
Yeah, I sort of miss it in some respects because it's easier to find things, but and they've been such expensive over the years. So what are the thoughts here by the committee?
When was the last time they met?
Members?
2017.
I did speak with the town manager earlier today about this, and he was gonna find out why, what value this advisory committee was to begin with that established it, and what has changed to make them not as valuable as they used to be. Does that
Well, I
make
think
sense?
in today's lingo it would be the internet committee, right? I mean,
I'm not so
Well, we
sure.
have a contract, there's a town has a contract with Comcast or Xfinity every year, doesn't it?
Yeah, so what I was
It's
To the
gonna
every-
say,
exclusion of
it's
others.
Every, like, 10 years, right?
I'm not sure about, I haven't seen one come across my desk, so.
No,
it's been before.
it's asset management, why is my brain going?
Yeah, it might be on like a longer term.
Procurement,
Yeah.
David Anthony. I only know because I met with a resident who's complaining about how Comcast is in the town of Barnstable. And he gives a great explanation on how it is the licensing works. It's
Yeah.
every 10 years.
He meaning David?
David Anthony explained it's every 10 years, the contract comes up. In 2 years before the contract comes up, we have a chance to have public comment and say if we don't want them. But the reality is that if we got rid of Comcast as our provider, we would have to have somebody come in and basically install, rewire, so that we could have another provider. So it's not, in the resident's comment was like, well, we're a big entity, like, don't we have some buying power? But we're actually part of, kind of like Cape Light Compact is, we're part of like a Cape Cod coalition related to Comcast. So even if we exited, it wouldn't like blip on the radar for Comcast because they have the rest of the Cape. We'd really have to get the whole Cape to revolt against Comcast. And then we'd have to have some other provider come in and string wires here.
And who's gonna want to take that expense
No.
now that everything's going wireless?
Yeah, so I mean, I think in a way, it's like
I've begged, I've
yeah.
gotten on my knees, asked people to come over the bridge, and that's the biggest dilemma,
Yeah.
is they will not come over the bridge. It's not feasible for them.
Yeah, so I know when people complain, and I mean, part of this is to take complaints to the operator for appropriate resolution. I mean, I don't really know that,
And that's why Nancy Richards, who was the chair of this committee back,
2018.
was that when it was? She wrote a letter asking to dissolve this committee
yeah.
because it was no longer, I mean, they met, but basically all of your complaints went to David Anthony or the town manager because they were the negotiating two that.
With the contract?
Yeah.
And there's no way there'd be an alternative anyway, so
No.
what difference does it make? Which is probably why they treat us like they do.
Allison?
Yeah.
So, I emailed Director Poyant about this because I also reached out to the town manager based on our conversation last time. And Director Poyant on the cable TV advisory said there was trouble keeping members, and the role of negotiating contracts with Comcast had moved over to mostly staff. So procurement, exactly. And the last chair was in favor of the committee going away, as the feeling at the time was that the last contract would be negotiating, or that was probably the last contract we
That
would
she
be
would
negotiating
yeah.
due to the increase of streaming services.
Okay, somebody want to move the question? Are we in
I-
agreement?
I make a motion to recommend to the town council the retirement of the cable TV advisory board.
committee.
No, it says board. Cable
says
TV
committee.
advisory board, okay, I'm on page, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Okay, cable television advisory committee, sorry, it said
No, I
advisory.
know,
board.
right?
Yep, so I make a motion to recommend to the town council that we retire the cable television advisory committee.
Second,
Okay, we're gonna take a vote, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. All right. Defunct. Okay. That's what we had for the non-active committees?
Yes,
There's only 4 or 5?
yes.
Okay. Let's see, going back to agenda. Discuss strategy for future topics. I think we have one, is that, one of the things is looking at the code of conduct, for all committee members that are part of the town, the, conflict of interest and things. I think would that be one we write out, or come up with a statement or like an affidavit-like statement that they will sign when they become members of the committee.
Well, are we looking at, don't we have, Cynthia, a committee handbook? Isn't there a committee
We
handbook?
do, and it was missing.
Yeah,
that
there
you
is,
never
there's one on the each committee page. There is, but I didn't put that one together, that was done, I'm not quite sure
I
by
just think
who.
that would be where John is getting at. Would that be a good place for us to start? Look at that overarching handbook, which every committee has to comply
I believe
with.
that was developed by, Planning and Development.
Is that who put it? Yeah.
But I think that's a good idea. Should
That
look
would
at
help
that.
us get the overarching, if we want to start large before we start dissecting
Yeah.
committees. I think that would do what you want to do, John.
I
Yeah.
do think though, I can't remember who recommended that, we maybe have like a sheet that goes with the application that explains conflict of interest. Would it, kind of, I mean, I don't know if there's like
It
a
does, the
one.
town clerk hands the packet when the person is sworn in.
But we're talking about, what we talked about was doing it ahead of time.
Oh,
So
So that a
people-
Before they
person,
apply.
yeah, so that they kind of understand what they're getting into, that they understand if they need to report a conflict or do, like, there was that person, Cindy, who didn't even realize she had a conflict until after things got down the road, remember?
Yeah, the
Recently.
cultural council, she was applying and Chris actually had a conversation with
Yeah.
her and then she went, oh geez, I can't apply
Yeah,
because.
so maybe there's like a one-page document that we could put with the application.
Yes, I think that would be good.
That comes from the state that explains the basics or something. I don't know if the state has something like that.
Well, as we do now, what we do now is what we do with counselors. Everybody is a conflict of interest that you go through the online, through the state. Is that what we give to prospective community members, all the same thing, you've gotta watch this video?
Not prospective, once they're appointed.
Oh, yeah, this is beforehand. Yeah, I think we need to be a little bit more strict and decide, with what you're saying, is give me the application along with the application. And, here's what this is what conflict of interests are, and the repercussions if you do not follow the program. And also, like, for example, they'll know that if they have a conflict, and here's what you consider conflicts, or what that video considers conflicts. And then I have read this and signed this, and I understand prior to signing it, that a conflict that comes up at any time in the future is grounds for removing that person from the committee.
Well, I guess the question is if we find a conflict down the road, what is the process legally?
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is that? We talked about in the appointments, we're not the unappointments committee, so it's like, who has the legal authority to do that? Because the committees, I don't know, Allison, I mean, the committees are, they're appointed by the appointments committee. I had a conversation with President Tamish about conduct on the dais, and he said, well, the town manager doesn't manage the committees. I mean, there are some committees that he appoints. It's kind of a weird gray area. He appoints some committees, so would he be more responsible for that conflict of interest?
There's a
And
few.
the appointments committee, would we be responsible for that, or would it be legal? Like, I don't know how would a known conflict of interest all of a sudden, if it rears its head, who would handle that and how would that work?
Well, right now it goes through legal and the town manager. And we've had a number of examples in the last few years where it's a cut and dried conflict of interest. But that's an opinion, because the law has their own ideas of what that constitutes. So I sort of like to have it so that it doesn't have to go, I think it's cut and dried, it doesn't have to go through legal for every question, but, I'm not sure that can be done.
Well, can you work us up something? I mean, I hate to ask you, but look at what we have in the document that we hand to people and see what we could do to give a little more information on conflict of interest to clarify that, if that's the overriding concern.
Yeah.
And maybe all of us for our homework could read that entire document and then come prepared with some ideas on, what we need to do. I think it's on the website, right?
What's that?
The document that talks about committees.
The committee handbook.
Yeah.
And there's also, in the town code under multiple,
Okay, but it's on our town council
yeah,
website, right?
code, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whatever you devise, I might suggest that you give it to the appointments committee, since they're the first line of those that are coming in to apply. You might wanna give that paper, whatever you come up with, to say, you're applying for this committee, these are the conflicts of interest, this explains it. Then you'll have to do this, because that's the front line, is the appointments committee.
Yeah.
It's, once they reach the clerk, they've already been appointed.
Selected.
Yeah, and then I think we also need to have the town manager, when he has his committees that he appoints, also be handing the same information, so that everybody on all the committees is kind of educated on the same level. And then I think the only other thing I think that might be helpful is letting committee members know, like, maybe something changes during their tenure and they're like, oh, I have a conflict. Like, I think an educational piece that reminds them, if you think you have a conflict, you reach out to legal or you go to the state ethics. There is a form that you can file. I mean, I think it's, again, we might know how it works. But,
Education.
obviously, people might not remember, but maybe if it just is a little seed in the back of their brain.
I'm wondering, would it be too much of an imposition to just include a link to the town's ethics test, the little instructive thing? It doesn't,
That's on the state website.
I understand, but
Yeah.
if we include that in the committee vacancies, just if somebody wanted to try it out, just say, it's free. It's,
Yeah.
just make it accessible on the vacancies, the committee
Oh, anybody
vacancies
can, yeah, anybody in the public can go to the state ethics website and look at any one of their videos on there. I thought Karen had said, though, you really can't push people to look at it until they're actually committee members,
No,
because,
we can offer that this is,
oh, well,
if you're
yeah,
curious, here it is.
Yeah.
People might not know how to look
yeah,
under
I
state
see what you're saying.
mass.gov and know how to look under ethics, but if you provide the link,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
FYI, here's a link to the state's ethics certification.
Yeah, that you'll be
Yes.
required to do, should you be appointed to a committee.
You can take it and fail, and you're not appointed yet. You can just be hunting around
Yeah.
and see what it's like. Cause oh, this isn't for me. I'm not.
But the only thing with that is, in order to take it and to look, you have to set up an email.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Well,
You're
yeah,
right.
but people,
Yeah, but I don't think people are just gonna randomly go on the ethics.
That's true.
With their email and set up an account with the state if they don't want to.
Yeah, you have to
yeah,
register.
but if they really wanna be on a committee, they're gonna have to do it anyway, so why? You're giving them the access to do it if you're fairly certain that you're gonna get on.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess I would have to ask Bill what that would do to the website.
Sure.
I don't know if, you've got 14,000 people signing on to watch an ethics film, what that might do.
It's gonna be a mad rush now that we've announced it here.
I don't know, I'll have to ask Bill, because I'm not sure. Yeah, because the new way of doing it now is you have to sign up, and then they ask you a bunch of like, what are you? Are you a municipality employee, or are you a?
What committee you're with?
Yeah, and then you gotta list your committee, because the way they keep track of it now is on a rolling, like I got an email the other day that said my certificate was up, but that's because I did it 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm not sure, I'd have to ask Bill. I'll ask Bill how it works, if anybody can do that.
I'd like to see one statement that is included with the application that is a synopsis of the code of ethics, training and that kind of stuff. Said, under these, you're signing this under the knowledge that any personal familiar or business interest that can conflict with these is the grounds for grounds for losing your position.
But I don't know, I
Yeah.
mean, again,
Yeah.
when you say that, is that even true? Meaning,
Yes, there is, it is true, and in the videos, yeah, you can't.
okay, I'm just checking, cause it seems like,
But people can always recuse themselves, can't they?
Yes, they can. And but what's happened before is, like, for example, we just had that court case you heard about with the drive-through. Well, I understand the judge was totally, extremely mad that Aaron Webb had sat on that committee, even though he did about 2B23. But he was a direct competition to that restaurant, and I guess the judge just reamed us out.
Oh,
Okay,
the
the
town?
fact, reamed the town out, that this guy was on this committee for all along, and he's a direct competitor within 200 yards of that,
Right
of that
across the street.
Yeah, so I think we need to, we find a way to, so that is made clear to everyone, that is gonna be, it's gonna be disqualifier, second, B, it's gonna be looked at, and that kind of stuff. So it's just a way to say, people, if you're even thinking about it, and you realize you have some kind of thing, you should talk to somebody before you
But,
get on a
you know,
committee.
the zoning
way to
board
do
of
that,
appeals
Allison?
has legal, I mean, there's legal advice to the zoning board. I mean, how did that happen that wasn't caught?
what do you mean?
What he just said in terms of Aaron Webb sitting on that particular matter of the Wendy's, if you're accurate that the judge felt that.
I don't know enough about that situation to be able to speak
Yeah.
on it. But I know that depending on what board, committee you're on, there's statutes that offer how somebody can be removed or not removed. We have ordinances that speak to how people can be removed or not removed. Just depends on what we're talking about. So what you're talking about now may require a change in ordinance.
But we have to leave in about 3 minutes or so.
Okay,
I have a suggestion. Can somebody check with Bill Cole and start going alphabetically through our boards, committee, and commissions and see if there are serving members who are out of compliance with their ethics.
I think we should just ask each chair to ask
Cindy's
their,
done it, it's not,
okay.
it's, all you do is
They
ask.
never get back to you, they don't ask their members, they forget. I wanna say Bill has access to Barnstable only as the administrator. Cause when the state first did this, they asked for somebody to be the administrator of the program or to hold
One
it.
person per town.
Yeah, and it was Bill Cole, obviously, because he's the HR director, so that makes sense. And I think he has the ability to go on and look at Barnstable for the year 2024 to see who's non-compliant and who's not. Because this program started in, like I said, 2022, and I just got notification that I needed to up mine, and I did mine.
Do you want it?
And then you just, you print it out and
do you have Bill Cole's, is it a regular town email,
it's
bill.cole?
william.cole@town.barnstable.ma.us.
So you're gonna do that, John?
Yep.
And I think, from what I was told originally, that he was the administrator, and that if I had any questions, I could just go right to him, because he was gonna be the keeper of the info.
His title is minister.
He's the Director of Human Resources.
Okay, let's finish this up.
And
we-
I'll show you. Go under town departments, under administrative, human resources.
Okay, great, thanks.
But that way, we can ask him to just, you have to look at every member for every committee, starting with affordable housing, airport, A to Z, ZBA.
Okay, let's, since we've got to run here, do we have people read the minutes of the February 7th meeting?
Thank you
Okay.
for doing it, Cindy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I move that we accept the minutes of February 7th.
Second. okay. Motion to approve the minutes of February 7th, 2025. I'll say aye or nay.
Aye.
Okay, passes. Next meeting dates. What do we have one yet for?
Yes, let me go get my calendar.
March 12th,
Yes,
3:30.
thank you. March 12th at 3:30.
3:30 right here.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll do the rest of it after that.
And we're not gonna get bumped to 4 o'clock?
No, not this time.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so on the next agenda, we'll go back to discussing,
I'm okay with 4 o'clock, just,
it's gonna be 4 o'clock?
Well, no, right now, I mean, you can change it.
No, it's right now, it's 3:30?
Yes.
Okay, we'll stay with 3:30.
Yep.
Just looking here, can everybody spend some time thinking about future topics that we can go over? And we should have, 5 or 6 at least, and do that for next meeting. And I think that's it. Okay, motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. Time flies.